welcome back to FS22, and today we're going to have a look at productions and in particular parallel processing. So this was inspired by a question on my Discord about my BGA and whether it would process things in parallel. So if you switch on multiple inputs, does it slow down the production? And then a discussion on Scroff's Discord where someone said, yeah, they work the same. You know, if you switch on 3, it'll process them all at once. And I went away and did some testing, and I came back and said, yeah, you're right, I didn't know that. So we're going to test it. So I've got my BGA off of ModHub. I've got Omatana's fermenting silos, which I'm using on Greenlands. I've got the small dairy, and I apologise, I can't remember who that is by, which I plan to use on Greenlands. And we've got the base game oil mill from Giants. And what we're going to do is we're just going to go through each of them and see what happens as to whether they are just as quick if you have one or more production turned on as if when you have one. So we'll start over here with the silos. So I have pre-prepared all of this, so they all have products in. So these one has grass and chaff in, and one just has chaff. They have the same amount of product in them, and we're just going to enable them and speed up time a bit and see what happens. So if we go down to the fermenting silos, this one just has chaff, we'll turn that on. This one has grass and chaff, and we'll turn that on. And we can now just speed up time a little bit, and we'll see what happens. And I think you can see what I'll do is I'll let it run for a bit, and then I'll stop time, and we'll just have a look at how things are going. But I think you can sort of see that these are indeed processing at pretty much the same speed to run both as to run one. Let's slow it down there. So you can see the one that has just chaff in is down to 3,200 litres, and the one that has grass and chaff are both down to just under 3,200 litres. They both started with 12,100 litres of their inputs. So yeah, these guys do process 2 inputs at the same speed as one input. So let's go over to my BGA, shall we? So I have a pair of these. One has just silage in, one has silage and straw. And make sure we're on half time. So this one has silage and straw, so we'll just enable those, and we'll go up, and this one has just silage, and we'll see what happens with this. And this production runs quite quickly, so we probably don't need to be quite so aggressive with the speeding up of time. Just do a chunk, and we'll see that. Okay, so that's probably enough, so that you can see on this one, which is my BGA, actually it's running much slower. So the silage in the top one has processed it's down to about 7,000 litres, whereas in the one that has silage and straw, there's about twice as much left. So in this case, it does make a difference. So for my BGA here, if you have 2 on, you process at about half the speed. So this mod, my mod, it does affect it. Omatana's mod over here, it does not. You can see it's a bigger gap now, you can see. So let's turn this one off. Okay, let's go over to the dairy. So this one, again, we have a pair of these, and they have 32,000 litres of milk in each. What we're going to do is in the top one, we're just going to enable butter production, and in the bottom one, we will enable butter and cheese. That's quite loud. And what we're going to do is speed the time up again, and we'll just see what happens with this one. And again, I think you can quite quickly see that the production is sharing the cycles. So it's producing about twice as much butter in the one with butter on its own as it is on the one that's doing butter and cheese together. Don't think we need to run that for too long you can see it there. 262 litres versus 131 litres. Half. Okay, so let's deactivate those, and we'll go over and have a look at the oil mill. So this one, I have this one with just canola in, and then this one has canola, sunflowers and olive oil. So let's enable those. So this has all 3. This one just has canola. So everything is running. Yep, so let's just speed up time again a little bit, and we'll let that work. and we'll see what happens. And then I'll explain why we're seeing a difference, because it did prompt me to dive in a little bit into the mod. So you can see here we've got about 300 litres of canola oil versus about a third, because we've got 3 productions running. So it does make a difference, and it's dependent on the individual production. So if I slow down time now, just so we can have a quick look at this one, do it in the productions menu because it's probably easier. We've got 628 litres of canola oil in the one that is just doing canola versus 209, so yeah, a third. So it is dependent on the individual mod as to whether it affects the production time or not. And I'll put on the screen, if you want to see whether a mod is slowed down by having more than one of its production chains active, you can either test it like I have, or if you open up the mod and look in the XML and you're looking for where it says, I just need to get the text back on screen. But yeah, it should be on the screen now. What you're looking for is in the productions bit of the XML, whether it says that it has shared throughput capacity set to false. If it is set to false, then you can run the production chains in parallel and it doesn't affect the output rate. If it's not there, it's set to true by default. So in my mini BGA, it is set to true, so it doesn't share it. The BGA that I tested it on, it is set to false, so that does process them in parallel. So very much dependent, not the result that I expected. I tested it based on one mod and went, yeah, you're right. If you turn on multiple production lines within a single production, it doesn't affect the speed, but it turns out it is dependent on the individual mod as to whether it has an issue or not. So if you're using productions a lot, check the XML or test it first and see whether you are slowing down your production by having multiple production lines within a production active. I hope you found that interesting and vaguely useful. If you did, click the like button. If you didn't, click the dislike button. They both help. If you've got any questions, leave a comment below. And if you're not already, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. And I'll catch you next time.